Hey everybody, it's the Panoptical poet here. Um, it's been a while since I've done like a poetry rant, so I figured it was time. There's been a lot going on in my life. I run my own business, and that's going well, but running your own business is always a lot of work. And part of running my own business is also teaching a course at a community college, but still it's a college course, and it may even end up being at a higher college level because I'm teaching about literacy. My job is teaching kids how to read and write, and that's all kind of relevant to what I want to rant and read about today. I teach kids that struggle with reading and writing for various reasons. Yeah, so labels, labels. Um, I just don't quite know where to start, so I'm going to take a moment. Our society is so obsessed with labels. And where a lot of this is coming from is that I just had a psych assessment. And I'll talk about the results of that in a moment. But our society is really obsessed with labels. And it becomes very problematic for so many reasons. Self-fulfilling prophecies, um, people using their labels as excuses is one that drives me nuts, and I'll clarify that a little bit more. But labels, it's just a real problem. I think the best thing I can do right now is read this poem, and then I'll go into everything else. So this poem is called Unidentified, and I wrote this because somebody was asking me about how I identify, and like really adamantly trying to get me to pick a label. And I have done a lot of interesting work, spiritual and otherwise, and one of the conclusions that I've come to is that I don't really want to pick an identity. Like, yes, I'm a poet, but I am not just a poet. If I identify myself as a poet, then maybe I won't be a very good hula hoop dancer because I'm not leaving room for that identity. So I wrote this poem in response to a conversation about that, and this is called Unidentified. You ask me, how do I identify, as if I should be able to define myself in mere words, as if a human is not a miraculous ball of unpredictable energy wrapped neatly into a meat sack, a bundle of matter, cells clustered together in dynamic patterns, and how I identify does not matter in the scope of all of that. I am the sum of my experience, an eternally changing idea that merely influences my perception as I pass through moments that were always meant to ebb and flow like water. I am everything and nothing all at once, and I cannot be quietly categorized in this enigmatic existence. I am fullness, I am emptiness, I am whole, I am broken, and I am a work in progress that never needed to be fixed to begin with, because I am an entity that cannot be summarized with just one identity. So yeah, reading that really helped me sum up my thoughts, which we'll get to again, as to why that's such a problem. But in our capitalist, like our capitalist society is so weird. It forces people to live in a way that is so counter to what I think is our true nature. Like ultimately we're animals, like I said, a bundle of cells. Like, we're not supposed to live by clocks and all of these arbitrary constructs. And that's what a lot of these labels are. But realistically, I live in a capitalist society. So one of the things I decided to do recently was work on getting myself a psych assessment. Unsurprisingly, I tested as autistic, ADHD, and for PTSD, there's a criterion list. I may cry a little bit. Um, and you need a 30 on the PTSD score, and I got a 42. That one wasn't surprising because, as I've discussed before, I was almost kidnapped once. The police response was really terrible. I've been sexually assaulted numerous times at various levels. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. I even had some birth trauma, not to bring up anything bad with my parents, but there was forceps, and I'm learning now that, like, our body carries those things. So, like, I came into this world in a traumatic way, and a lot of traumatic things have happened along the way. But, um, yeah, I guess, like, part of, too, what really, sorry, there's a beautiful hummingbird over there. Part of what tipped me off about me being potentially autistic is the children that I work with. A lot of them come to me, I guess too, like I don't know how to bring this up without sounding arrogant, but I guess I tested really high in regards to IQ and intelligence. And as I said, I think the only reason for that is because, like, I think everyone has the same capabilities. I really do. And this really because the kids I work with. And, like, I just love learning. So I'm always trying to learn. And of course, somebody who loves learning and is always trying to learn is going to end up being highly intelligent. But so, yeah, with the kids that I work with, a lot of the ones that came to me with this autistic label, I noticed that they were pretty socially awkward, couldn't communicate very well, including in their written skills sometimes, but they were super intelligent. Like, one of them knew stuff about the universe, so much about the universe, things that I will never understand. And so I guess my whole overall point is that I don't think of these things, autistic, ADHD, PTSD, as labels of and like of how I identify. And I think we do that. You know, somebody gets like a diagnosis of autism, and we label that person as just autistic. But those are traits. Autism, the things, it's a spectrum. They are traits. ADHD, they are traits. I've worked with so many kids who have the same diagnosis and they're completely different people because there are so many things that make up our identity. And PTSD, all of it, those are traits that make up our identity because we aren't ever one thing. And that's where I listen to a lot of really amazing, I'm noticing, women who talk about mental health. And Carol Lowenthal, I love her. And some people, not a lot of people, but there's a few people who accuse her of not having very good trauma informed practice. And I fully disagree. She has been so instrumental in my healing process. And she's very much no bullshit, but like sometimes we all need that. And like she says, you know, I really want to be compassionate about all the ways that the world can trigger you, but the world is not going to be compassionate about that. So I would rather teach you how to deal with that. And that's exactly it. Like, yes, as a person with PTSD, it is harder for me to control my emotional reactions. And I'm hoping that people will be understanding of that. But it is still and always will be my responsibility to work on controlling my reactions and to make repairs when my reactions do harm to the people around me. So I just sometimes I see people doing, like, so many people I know make coffee dates with me and then cancel at the last minute because they're tired, or, you know, like, I kind of get it, but also, like, your neurodivergence is not an excuse to be rude to people and to disrespect other people's time. And, you know, like I said, it's a trait, it's a reason, but it's not an excuse. And yeah, like, I'm sorry if that offends anybody, and I'm not necessarily saying I'm right. I just know for myself that, you know, continuing to work on things and accepting responsibility for when I make mistakes, but also being compassionate about why I make mistakes, thank you, Carol Lowenthal, is the best way to go. You know, like, I still have to be accountable, but yes, maybe I overreacted and yelled because I have PTSD, and I can't hate myself because of that. Being mad at myself because of that is not going to help. I have to understand myself for that, and people around me have to be understanding. And if they can't, then I have to give them space as well. So anyway, I think that's about as much as I can rant about today, or should rant about today. Yeah, it's just been a really interesting year. There's been a lot of changes, good and bad, mostly good. I mean, I think even bad changes lead to good. That's just kind of the person that I am. But sometimes it can get really bad, and that's hard. And definitely we should all be compassionate about that. And yeah, we all have traits that make us complicated humans, and we all need to be patient with each other about that. But also, the world needs a lot of help. So I think it's really important that we all do our self work so that we can bring the best versions of ourselves to the world. And yeah, just be beautiful, dynamically clustered cell patterns in meat sacks that love each other. So I think, like I said, I don't know what else I can say. I'm going to end it there. Thank you for listening if you're here. Sorry about my early morning look. It's literally like 8 in the morning and I was finally ready to make this video. So you get what you get. Panoptical Poet out.